Three friends from a ranch in the municipality of Charcas, San Luis Potosí, liked to go to the dances a lot, and they always rode horses. On one occasion, already on the way back at dawn, it was more or less 3 in the morning, being particularly a very cold and dark dawn, in the corner that is known as Puerto de las Hermanas, the three heard the sound of a horn in the stream that was next to them. They got off their horses and headed to the stream, but they found nothing. They followed their path, and about 300 meters away, the same sound of the horn was heard again next to them. They decided not to give it any more importance, following the path. After a few meters away, the sound was heard again, but this time with much more strength. They went down again, thinking that it was perhaps a cement chip, that it had escaped and that it was close to the stream. Indeed, this time they saw a fairly large chip, or rather huge. It weighed perhaps about 200 kilos approximately. They said that they should take it to sell it. They caught him and made him walk for about 20 minutes, but after a while the animal looked very angry, and began to twist with great force. The movements were so violent that even with the strength of the horses, the Chihuahua managed to drag them to the place where they had found him. The three men were filled with fear and decided to leave the place immediately. It seemed that bad luck would follow them, since one of them died in a kidney a few weeks later. Another one seriously got sick from an inexplicable illness and died. My friend? Well, he didn't run with better luck. He currently has diabetes and is telling me this story, sitting in a wheelchair. Years ago, we lived in the street of República de Argentina, in a 2-story house. On one occasion, my sister got together with a neighbor. Her father worked in the purchase and sale of cars, and the two of them were already talking at night in the cars that the gentleman bought. One day, returning from a trip, they were left in one of the cars. That day I went for her and she told me that she felt that someone was watching them. I told her that she was crazy and I told her to get in because it was time to go to bed. Later she started crying, but she was asleep and could not wake up until she was suddenly woken up. She told us that it had been a man dressed in black who told her to go with her. She got scared and that's when she started crying. As the years went by, it was the beginning of the year. And that time it was raining, but with a lot of lightning and a lot of air. The light was going away every now and then, and one of my nieces was alone in the room upstairs. And all of a sudden I tell her, "Come on, let's go, the candle light is off." When I wanted to light it, I saw in the room that a man passed towards the bathroom. I lit the candle, and when I saw him in the back, he was a man dressed in black, but with a boyfriend's suit. One of those with penguin tail and high hat. I didn't care much about it, or rather I didn't want to do it so as not to scare my niece. When I got to the middle of the stairs, my niece tells me, "Look, that man is watching us," and where I turned I was the same guy who came to the bathroom, but his face was very pale and he was watching us fixedly. We tell everyone and my sister at the entrance heard us and tells us that was the same guy who wanted me to go with him. We stayed on the side, and from there in that room no one ever stayed. It gave us too much fear. The weird thing is that that room was the only one in which that feeling was felt, a strange feeling, a sadness, we never explain why. During a summer night, relatives of my neighbors arrived from Salina Cruz to Tampico for vacation. As it is a large family, some of its members slept in hammocks in the corridor of their house. One of my neighbor's brothers usually slept in the corridor next to my house. The clock was ticking at 2 in the morning when we finished watching a movie, my husband and I. He got up from his couch and invited me to smoke, so we went out to the terrace that was on the street to talk and smoke those cigarettes. We turned to the neighbor's house when we saw that his brother was lying on the hammock and greeted us. When the cigarette was over, we went to sleep and felt like a strong wind shook the trees. And then a short lament, but it seemed that they hurt someone. My husband was looking at me with a scared face and asks me, "Did you hear that?" I answered yes and quickly got into the room. When I hear a second lament again, but this time closer, it was long and quite sad. I got into bed and covered my ears. My skin was itching and I began to feel anguish and fear. My husband closed everything. I was paralyzed with fear. He approaches and tells me not to be scared, that we are going to pray and see if he withdraws with that. We began to pray for a while and both the wind and the laments disappeared, leaving only the silence of the dawn. In the morning we woke up and saw the neighbor, to whom we asked if he had heard the laments. He confirmed that yes, that he had heard that and that he had put everyone in the house, prisoners of fear. We never knew very well if it was a person or something supernatural. Then talking to the neighbors, they confirmed that, in effect, he began to hear the lament of the cry in the colony, announcing the death of someone or some bad omen. All this happened in the Hippodrome colony, where it was previously surrounded by lagoons and mountains. Perhaps that is why this painful spirit still remains in the streets of the colony. Months ago he worked in a gas station in Linares, Nuevo Leon, which covers from China, Nuevo Leon to Matuala by San Luis Potosí. I had to be sent to work with my boss in a town called Aranberry, which has very beautiful surroundings, full of hills and mountain roads. One night I was sent to leave an American engineer at the airport, and of course, I had to go down to Linares Nuevo Leon. This road is very dark and sunny at night. Almost no one passes it, and we had to go down the mountain at about 3 in the morning. We were talking on the way when suddenly a white blanket crossed my way. We thought it was someone and we decided to stop, but it was nobody. We got on the truck and continued moving forward when later we saw the same blanket again, which gave me a certain fear. I didn't want to stop that day anymore, and we got to Linares and I threw myself to leave it directly to Monterrey. Back, I decided to go to Linares to sleep. Later they call me from work and tell me that I had to take some pieces urgently from China to Matuala. I took a shower and went back to work. I went to China Nuevo Leon and from there I returned to Linares. I loaded the fuel truck and went back to Matuala. I remember that I was given the night by Dr. Arroyo, another pretty community in the area. When I was on the road to Matuala, I had 40 minutes to get to the camp. It was 11 at night when suddenly I saw the same blanket that we had seen days before, but this time I had to see it alone, and further away, but much further away. Strangely, the truck I was carrying went out, and I told myself that it was very strange, since I was carrying the tank almost full. Besides, the truck was new. Why does it go out? I asked. Unfortunately, no one passed and I had no other option but to get into the truck and lock myself. I put on the lights to wait for someone to pass and give me help, but no one passed. 15 minutes passed and I decided to turn on the truck, and this time it started. I decided to keep moving until I reached the camp. What I do not explain is why that happened to me and why I saw the same blanket in that area. Investigating a little, many people told me that it is the saintess who takes care of all the people who inhabit those roads. My greatest respects, but the truth is that it is scary to see something like that at night. This legend has its origins in Puebla, where locals are warned since childhood about the danger of a place in the middle of the mountains, where small elves drag people to take them under a bridge, in which they do things that are not yet known, and whoever enters there never leaves. This dark place is known as the Elf Bridge, and thanks to that a person could escape. It is known a little more about this uncertain fate. A man returned from the town's party, something over the cups, to combat a little cold. In the middle of the night he happens to go looking for firewood. The only one he could find was near the so-feared bridge. Already knowing of the misfortunes that were attributed to him, he tried to be back as soon as possible. He only took a couple of sticks as fast as he could. But when he turned around, he saw a large and fat hen between the bushes. It seemed that it did not belong to anyone, because people used to keep animals in the corrals, fearing wolves or coyotes. The man is ready to capture her. He follows her between the bushes, and although the hen is very slow, she was very slippery. With the idea in mind of having her on the table for dinner, she did not give up her attempt. Until he realized that the hen stopped right at the end of the bridge, too scared and with the intention of running. He could not do it. He felt his whole body asleep and was driven against his will down the bridge, where some laughs and gurgling were heard. He could then see that that chubby hen became a man of less than a meter, who saw him fixedly with a malicious laugh, hearing screams and moans of pain. The man could leave his trance for a second, taking control of his hand to make the sign of the cross, saying a prayer, "Our Father, if my flesh is for the demons, at least let my soul be with you in paradise." The creatures screamed in a reaction of disagreement, wanting to swing over him. They went over him, but fortunately the man could escape running, thanks to these words. The next day when he woke up, he thought that everything had been a bad dream, but an immense pain made him turn to his legs, which he had torn and bleeding, and when he got up, he saw a path of feathers covered with blood, which marked the way to the bridge, to that feared bridge, called the Bridge of the Elves.